Today I am visiting with Dr. Robert McSorley, a nematologist from the University of Florida in Gainesville. We're in the Organic Unit at the Plant Science Research and Education Center in Citra, Florida. The University of Florida Organic Unit has 37 certified acres and 20 acres in transition. This land is used for research, teaching, and education. Nematodes are a very diverse group of unsegmented worms. And plant parasitic nematodes cause millions of dollars in damage in vegetable crops each year. In organic systems, nematodes are best managed with preventative practices. So Bob, in order to manage nematodes most effectively, it's probably best to know a little bit about them. What can you tell us about plant parasitic nematodes?
Well, first of all, there are many different kinds of plant parasitic nematodes that you have, and a typical field could have half a dozen different kinds of plant parasites. Some of these don't do much damage at all. Things like spiral nematodes and ring nematodes are found in almost all Florida soils but don't really do much damage. Other types like sting nematodes and stubby root nematodes and reniform nematodes and root knot nematodes are particularly damaging. And these are ones that we have most of our problems in agricultural crops with. These nematodes, they're microscopic in size, so they don't take much from the plant roots, but very large numbers of them can build up around the roots of the plants. And they can build up their population size very quickly. During the summertime, when plants are actively growing, many of these can complete a generation in a month and the root knot nematode will produce hundreds of eggs. So you can get a very rapid buildup in the nematodes population cycle in a relatively short period of time. Now, when in the off-season, when the plants are not there, in the North Florida that would be over winter, in South Florida that would be over summer. The nematodes will be relatively inactive and may be present in the egg stage or other stages that are relatively inactive and sometimes relatively hard to detect. So we'll have minimum populations at those times with maximum populations building up on the plants as we go through the season. They cause a lot of problems on plant roots, and some of them will produce obvious symptoms on the roots and others will not.
Oh, I see. But if they're microscopic, it seems like they would probably behave more like diseases almost than insects. So what sort of symptoms or signs should producers look for if they suspect that they have a nematode problem?
Particularly difficult because unlike insects that you can actually see them and identify the different insects with hand lenses and things right in the field, these are microscopic and they're hidden in the soil. And for the most part you have no visible symptom of a particular type of nematode, with one exception, and that is the root knot nematode. This one produces characteristic symptoms on the root system that this nematode lives in the root system, and it causes, where the nematodes are living, causes little swellings or galls right on the root system. And these galls will typically be found on the plant roots of things like tomatoes and cucurbits and beans. This is a bean plant right here, peppers, other things like that, a wide host range that they have. And these nematodes will be living in the root system and cause swellings where they're living in the root system. And each one of those little bumps on the root system is where one of these nematode females is living within the root, distorting that root system, and in the process producing a couple hundred eggs right at that particular spot. So you can see a root like this has many nematodes on it and potential for hundreds of eggs. Now this is a bean plant, and the bean plant also gets nodules from nitrogen-fixing bacteria, which sometimes get confused with the root knot nematodes. We have both of them on this plant right here. These that we've just been looking at are the root knot nematodes. This nematode is living right inside of the root system. So you can see where that gall is. It's a part of the root system. You can't break it away from the root system. You can't squeeze it. It's solid. It's right inside of the root system. Now we get some nodules from the nitrogen-fixing bacteria. Notice that these are much more rounded in shape, somewhat loosely attached to the roots. You can roll them right off. And if you squeeze them, they'll be hollow inside or liquid filled and have maybe some reddish or whitish colored material inside where the bacteria for the nitrogen-fixing bacteria are living. So these nitrogen bacteria are a tremendous benefit to this bean plant. The nematodes are not, because they're blocking the uptake of nutrients and so forth. So this is the sign and the symptom that you see of root knot nematode. It's the only one that shows us this visible sign. Other nematodes will not have these particular signs in the field.
Okay. So for the other nematode species, what should producers look for?
Well, many nematodes cause damage to the roots, and so symptoms of root damage and difficulty in taking up water and nutrients are very typical with nematodes. We're dealing with the damaged root system, so we can see wilting, we can see yellowed foliage, we can see symptoms of nutrient deficiency, all because the nematodes have either blocked those roots or damaged the roots. Also, as we look at plants, we can see sometimes that some of the plants will show color differences if there's nematodes. You might have plants that are relatively yellow compared to darker green plants where the roots, again, it's a sign that the roots being impaired and you have a deficiency there, a little bit off color. Also, in serious situations, you might have plants that are stunted, much smaller in size than other plants. This could be a sign of nematode damage right here. Typically, nematodes are not distributed evenly throughout the field, so you will see stunted plants in small patches or small groups rather than a whole field looking uniformly the same way. So this is a suspicious thing where if you see a few plants that are small like this compared to other larger plants in the field, you have that as spots in the field. This is a possibility of a nematode situation. And unless you pull up the plant and see that it was root knot, you wouldn't know what it was unless you actually go in and take a soil sample to see what's at that particular, in that particular soil at the base of that plant.